Next point is torque under running condition. Firstly, we are going to find out the values under running condition is rotor EMF is calculated as E2 dash is equal to S into E2. Rotor current is calculated as I2 dash is equal to E2 divided by square root of R2 square plus S into X2 square. Rotor power factor, that is cos phi dash, is calculated as R2 divided by square root of R2 square plus S into X2 square. Then rotor reactance is X2 dash is calculated as S into X2. Now we know rotor torque under running condition is calculated as TR is directly proportional to the E2 I2 cos phi 2 or cos phi. Put the value of E2 I2 cos phi, then we get E2 multiplied by I2. Value of I2 is E2 divided by under root of R2 square plus S into X2 square multiplied by value of power factor is given as R2 divided by under root of R2 square plus S into X2 square. To simplify this equation, we get S into E2 square into R2 divided by R2 square plus S into X2 square. So this is the value of torque under running condition. Now we are going to see maximum torque under running condition. In last slide we have seen torque under running condition, and it is given as TR is equal to S E2 square into R2 divided by R2 square plus S into X2 square. So this is the torque under running condition. To find out the maximum torque under running condition, take derivative of this equation. So firstly, use here quotient rule, and the quotient rule is V derivative of U minus U derivative of V divided by V square. So consider numerator is U and denominator is V. So here firstly take derivative with respect to S, take K2 outside the bracket, and firstly this is the V derivative of U, and derivative of U is firstly U term is S into R2. Here derivative of S into R2 is R2 with respect to S. So this term is R2 into bracket R2 into R2 square plus S square X2 square. This term is U, and R2 is the derivative of U with respect to S, minus U derivative of, here U is S into R2, and derivative of V is with respect to R2, take derivative of only S square X2 square. So the derivative of V is 2S X2 square. So this is 2S X2 square is the derivative of V with respect to S, divided by V square, that is R2 square plus S square X2 square whole bracket square. Here this term and this term is cancelled, R2 and this R2 is cancelled. So the equation becomes R2 square plus this term moves LHS side, R2 square plus S square X2 square minus 2s square 2s square x2 square. Here 2s only written, instead of 2s write 2s square. 2s square x2 square is equal to 0. Now rearrange this equation, then we get r2 square is equal to s square x2 square, and now we get final equation, that is r2 is equal to s into x2 square. So this is the maximum torque condition, maximum torque under running condition. Let us see next point, effect of change in the supply voltage. Firstly, we are going to see starting torque equation. It is given as Ts is equal to K E2 square R2 divided by R2 square plus X2 square. This starting equation at the time of starting. In this equation, the Ts is directly proportional to the E2 square. So here Ts is directly proportional to the E2 square. Here the value of rotor EMF we can replace by the supply voltage, because rotor EMF is directly proportional to the supply voltage. Then equation becomes Ts is directly proportional to the V square. So therefore the starting torque is very sensitive to the value of the supply voltage. For example, if we drop 10% of supply voltage, then 20% of starting torque of induction motor is reduces. So therefore relation between starting torque and supply voltage is directly proportional. If we reduce the value of supply voltage, then the starting torque is also reduces. Now we are going to see motor under load condition. Let us discuss behavior of induction motor under load condition. Firstly, we see this is the direction of rotating magnetic field and this is the conductor. Consider two different cases. First case, conductor is stationary. When conductor is stationary, flux cutting between a rotating magnetic field and conductor is maximum. Therefore, EMF induced in the conductor is maximum. In second case, consider rotor conductor is rotating. Therefore, flux cutting is less and EMF induced in the conductor is also less compared with the first situation. Now, consider induction motor and it produces its own torque. It is known as a motor torque. When we put the load on the induction motor, the load required torque to drive this load. So this torque is known as a load torque. At initial stage, when we put the load on the induction motor, motor torque and load torque does not match. The effect of this is speed of the induction motor is reduces. When speed of the induction motor is reduces, at that time flux cutting between rotating magnetic field and rotor conductor is also reduces. And the effect is slip of the induction motor increases. Difference between synchronous speed and actual speed is also increases. And the effect is speed of the rotor is decreases. Speed of the rotor is decreases due to flux cutting increases and EMF induced in the conductor is increases. When EMF induced in the conductor increases, at that time current is increases, that is rotor current is increases. Therefore motor will produce more torque and it will match load torque. That is, this condition is satisfied when motor torque and load torque both are matched. The speed of the motor is constant. So this is phenomena, that is, when we put the load on the induction motor, first effect is the speed of the induction motor is reduces. After reduction in speed, the flux cutting between a rotating magnetic field and rotor conductor is increases. Slip of the induction motor is increases. Difference between synchronous speed and actual speed is increases. Due to increase the flux cutting, EMF induced in the conductor is also increases, and motor will produce more torque and it will match load torque. When the motor torque and load torque both are matched, the speed of the motor is constant. So this is the behavior of induction motor under load condition. Now we are going to see one example related to the motor under load condition. Consider an induction motor having synchronous speed is 1500 rpm. Consider case 1, that is N1 is 1000 rpm and N2 is 800 rpm. So next we are going to calculate slip 1 at motor speed is at 1000 rpm. The slip is calculated as 1500 minus 1000 divided by 1500. So in this case the slip is 0.33. In second case S2, we consider rotor speed is 800 rpm, then 1500 minus 800 divided by 1500, then we get slip of the induction motor is 0.46. So here you can observe that when we increase the load on the induction motor, initial speed of the induction motor is 1000 rpm. When we increase the load on the induction motor, speed is reduces to the 800 rpm. Next effect is the slip of the induction motor is increases, and difference between ns and n is also increases. In first case, the difference between synchronous speed and actual speed is 500, and in second case it is 700. So when difference between synchronous speed and actual speed is increases, first effect is slip is increases, second effect is flux cutting between rotating magnetic field and rotor conductor will increases. Therefore EMF induced in the rotor conductor is also increases. So this is the effect of load. Now we are going to see starting torque of three-phase induction motor. The rotor circuit has low resistance. Rotor circuit has low resistance and high inductance. Therefore current flowing through the rotor circuit is lagging behind rotor EMF E2. So this is the current I2 is lag behind rotor EMF E2. The rotor frequency F dash is equal to the supply frequency at the time of starting. To vary the starting torque of the induction motor, we can add external resistance to vary the starting torque. Now we are going to see squirrel cage induction motor. First point is squirrel cage induction motor. In case of squirrel cage induction motor, rotor bars are permanently short circuited by the end ring. Therefore we cannot add any external resistance in rotor circuit. So the disadvantage of the squirrel cage induction motor is it has low starting torque. It has low starting torque. Next motor is slip ring induction motor. In case of slip ring induction motor, a rotor winding is connected to the slip rings via it is connected to the brushes and external resistance. The external resistance is connected in the star. So therefore we can vary the external resistance and change the torque of the induction motor. Here we can achieve maximum torque condition. The condition is R2 is equal to X2. This is the maximum torque condition. So in this case we can increase the value of rotor resistance equal to the rotor reactance. Then we get high or maximum torque we can achieve in slip ring induction motor. Now we are going to see torque slip characteristic of the induction motor. The torque under running condition is given as T is equal to SE2 square R2 divided by R2 square plus SN2 X2 bracket square. In this equation, E2 is considered as a constant term because supply voltage is constant. Therefore, EMF induced in the rotor conductor is also constant. Therefore, equation becomes T is equal to K2, it is a constant, S into R2 divided by R2 square plus S into X2 bracket square. So this is the torque under running condition. Now the characteristic is start from the origin, that is S is equal to 0. It means that load is less and difference between synchronous speed and actual speed is also less. When S is equal to 1, it means that load present on the induction motor is high. Difference between synchronous speed and actual speed is also high. Therefore, the first case is slip of the induction motor is less. Now the torque equation become T is equal to K2 into bracket SR2 divided by R2 square plus S into X2 bracket square. So when we put the value of slip is less, the denominator term, that is S into X2 bracket square, is less compared to the R2. Because the value of slip is less, therefore product of S into X2 term is also less compared to the R2. So in this equation we neglect S into X2 square term. Now the equation become T is equal to SR2 divided by R2 square. Here R2 from numerator and R2 from denominator is cancelled. Now the equation become T is equal to S divided by R2. So this equation states that, once again I am write the equation, T is directly proportional to S. So this equation states that the torque of the induction motor is directly proportional to the slip. It means that when load on induction motor is less, it is directly proportional to the torque. Means when we increase the load on the induction motor, the torque of the induction motor is also increases. When we increase the load, at that time the speed of the rotor is less. Therefore, flux cutting between rotating magnetic field and a rotor conductor is increases, and current flowing through the rotor conductor is increases. When load increases, at that time flux cutting is increases, current flowing through the rotor conductor is increases, and torque increases. So the equation becomes T is equal to S. When load increases, current increases, and torque of the induction motor is increases. Now we are going to see next condition, that is when slip is equal to 1, means load is present on induction motor is high compared with the previous case. So in this case, torque equation becomes S into R2 divided by R2 square plus S into X2 bracket square. When the value of slip is 1 or nearer to the 1, the equation become s into x2 bracket square term is greater than R2, because here the value of slip is high compared with the previous situation. So here we neglect the term R2, then the equation become s divided by s square into x2 square. Here s from numerator and s from denominator is cancelled. Now the equation become t is equal to 1 divided by s into x2 square. So here once again I am write the equation, that is t is equal to 1 divided by s into x2 square. So this equation states that when we increase the load on the induction motor beyond its capacity, the torque of the induction motor is decreases. Now if you observe this characteristic, here you can observe that as you increase the resistance of rotor circuit, the torque of the induction motor is increases. Suppose at initially rotor resistance is R2, next we increase 2R2 resistance, and after we increase the resistance to the 4R2. When we as we increase the resistance, the torque of the induction motor is increases. So this is the torque slip characteristic of the induction motor. Now we are going to see torque speed characteristic of the induction motor. It shows the relationship between torque and speed. This axis represent the torque and this axis represent the speed. First torque is locked rotor torque. Locked rotor torque. Consider induction motor having synchronous speed is 1500 rpm and rotor speed is 0. When rotor conductor is stationary, flux cutting done by the rotor conductor and current is start flowing through the rotor conductor, then it produces the torque. The rotor torque is not sufficient and it will not drive the rotor. Therefore, it is called as a locked rotor torque. The torque is present inside the rotor conductor, but it is not sufficient to drive the rotor of the induction motor. Therefore, the value of a locked rotor torque is 1.5 times full load torque. Next torque is pull-up torque. Pull-up torque. Consider an induction motor having 1500 rpm speed and actual speed or rotor speed is 0. When rotor conductor is stationary, flux cutting done by the rotor conductor is maximum. Maximum current flowing through the rotor conductor, it will produces the torque, and this torque is sufficient to drive the rotor conductor. Therefore, this torque is known as a pull-up torque. Next torque is pull-out torque or breakdown torque. Pull-out torque or breakdown torque. Consider an induction motor. It is having maximum torque capacity, producing the maximum torque capacity is 10 Newton meter, and if we put 15 Newton meter torque requirement load on induction motor, then this induction motor is suddenly stopped because the torque capacity of induction motor is 10 Newton meter and we put 15 Newton meter load on induction motor. Therefore, the motor will suddenly stop. The pull-out torque is defined as the maximum torque produced by the induction motor is called as a pull-out torque or breakdown torque, beyond which the motor torque will drop or motor will suddenly stop. Here you can observe that at 0 rpm or 0 speed, first locked rotor torque is present. After some time, the motor will start rotate and it will produce the pull-up torque. When speed of the induction motor is increases, at that time motor produces the maximum torque, beyond which motor will suddenly stop, and it is known as a pull-out or breakdown torque. This is the torque speed characteristic of the induction motor. Now we are going to see formulas in power stages. This is the stator input, this is stator loss, and remaining power is available to the input of the rotor, that is output of stator output is also known as a rotor input. When we require to find out stator input, just add stator losses plus rotor input. Add these two quantity, stator loss and stator input. Next formula is mechanical power available at rotor is calculated as, it is denoted by letter PM, and it is calculated as rotor input minus rotor copper loss. Mechanical power available at rotor is calculated as rotor input minus rotor copper loss. And now next formula is mechanical power available at shaft is equal to the mechanical power developed in rotor, that is PM, minus friction and windage loss. So these are the formula which is used in the numericals. So remember these formulas. This is the end of the second unit. If you have any doubts, comment below, so I will discuss your doubts in the next lecture. Thank you. Now we are going to see power stages in induction motor. Induction motor use three-phase AC input and it will convert electrical energy into the mechanical energy. Firstly, we fed three-phase AC source to the stator winding. Then current start flowing through the stator, and stator produces the two losses. First one is the stator copper loss and second one is the stator core loss. Stator copper loss is occurred because stator winding is having resistance R, and due to the current flow I square R loss takes place, and this is known as a stator copper loss. Second loss is the stator core loss. Stator core loss consists of eddy current and hysteresis loss. This loss is depend upon supply frequency and flux density, and both quantities are practically constant. Next, some amount of the input energy is wasted in the stator loss and remaining power is available to the rotor. Initially rotor conductor is stationary. When current start flowing through the rotor conductor, it will produces the torque and rotor is start rotating. After flux cutting will occur and EMF induced inside the conductor and current start flowing through the rotor conductor. Rotor conductor is having resistance. When current flowing through the rotor conductor, I square R loss takes place and it is known as a rotor copper loss. Now, some amount of the power wasted in the rotor copper loss and remaining power available to the rotor, and it is converted into the mechanical energy. After, frictional and windage loss will take place, and this amount of the loss is overcome and remaining power is available to the shaft of the motor. So this is the power stage in the induction motor. Now we are going to see formulas in power stages. This is the stator input. This is stator loss. And remaining power is available to the input of the rotor, that is output of stator output is also known as a rotor input. When we require to find out stator input, just add stator losses plus rotor input. Add these two quantity, stator loss and stator input. Next formula is mechanical power available at rotor is calculated as, it is denoted by letter PM, and it is calculated as rotor input minus rotor copper loss. Mechanical power available at rotor is calculated as rotor input minus rotor copper loss. And now next formula is mechanical power available at shaft is equal to the mechanical power developed in rotor, that is PM, minus friction and windage loss. Friction and windage loss. So these are the formula which is used in the numericals. So remember these formulas. This is the end of the second unit. If you have any doubts, comment below, so I will discuss your doubts in the next lecture. Thank you.